ladies. This is my sci-fi industrial board used for one-page rules. Grimdark Future. You can use it for the gang wars or whatever 40k type of stuff you want to do. Maybe Judge Dredd, Aliens would be good on this. So I'll take you over to the crafting board in a little bit, but basically I just wanted to show you what it looks like. It's all modular, and which is great. And once you get the LEDs going, it makes for some pretty cool setups here. You get some smoke effects going, catwalks. You can always change things different colors. So instead of blue, let's say we want to do red, make everything red or green. And I even put these little lights inside the objectives. So this is objective number 2, and it'll glow and blink. All right, so let's go over to the crafting table and figure out how to make this stuff. All right, before we get started, I just want to talk about one thing that I learned from the terrain tutor. He's on YouTube, really good videos there. But this triangular diagram around terrain. So you have to balance these 3 things. You got the realism of how real you want to make your terrain look versus how well it actually functions on a tabletop battlefield, and the flexibility that comes with it. And then it costs. You can spend a lot of money on terrain. So you want to try to find a good balance of all these 3 things. And I think my board does that. So you're really shooting to get somewhere in the middle for an acceptable level of realism, an acceptable level of function, and an acceptable level of cost. So something to think about. You're gonna make sacrifices in certain ways, but ultimately you want to come out feeling good about what you made. All right. Just realize before we go to the crafting table, one thing you have to decide on first is what you're going to use for your battle mat, and this is going to set the tone for everything else. This battle mat that I bought from Warzone is 2-sided neoprene, so it's got a desert on the back and then an industrial setting, but it has a lot of blues in it. So that meant that I'm going to make a lot of blues, different colors to try and blend in with that to make the whole thing look like one piece. So just keep that in mind as you're starting with the mat. That's probably the beginning piece. The second thing we're going to look at are these. We're going to start with the towers, and that's going to set the tone for the height of everything. And you want these to be repeatable. So I made about 8 of these. A couple of them which are only 1 story high. I did 2-story high ones. So the catwalks just come off. Stairs just move aside. And this is what a tower looks like. So going through this, the most important thing is starting with your tin cans. These are just regular old vegetable cans. I get the bigger ones, not the smaller ones. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to make a hex top. And this can be made out of foam, just regular old dollar store, foam core board like this. You're going to make a template, probably using chipboard as so you can repeat it over and over again. Sorry. So chipboard comes in handy a lot. We're going to be talking a lot about that. So thick chipboard. Make a template. Make your hexagons. Hexagons are good so you can build catwalks off any direction. And then you're going to glue your hex foam on top. And then what you use is foam, what do you call it? Eva foam, which comes in colors. And I'll see if I can grab a pack of that in just a second here. And I use a soldering iron like this with a sharp tip, if you can see that, to basically make all my indentations into foam. So as we go along, that's how I make all these plates and even these little rivets. All it is a dot with the soldering iron. This saves you tons of time. You could just whip through terrain. I use the soldering iron to make stonework when I'm doing fantasy stuff because it's real quick instead of each little stone. All right, so anyways, once you got your levels glued on, this These little edging here is chipboard. So you make chipboard about this thick and then edge it all around. You can use more foam of that sheets to make little plates and stuff like that. This is just a piece of scrap metal on top. I have some 3D printed barrels. Down here on the bottom, you got some pipes, which is nothing more than paper straws cut at angles to make corners. This is more of that thin EVA foam. You can make dots around it and glue it on around. The key with everything, obviously, guys, is a hot glue gun. You can't do this without a hot glue gun. It fills every joint. This one happens to be high and low temp, which is great, and has a thin nozzle. You can get different nozzles for the higher end ones. But even a regular old, $20, $10 hot glue gun will work. It's going to make your life a lot easier. And then the last thing, to make these pillars on the bottom. I only did the pillars on the bottom because I want models to be able to walk around on the top. So the pillars just are made out of, or these I-beams, chipboard, and you just take chipboard, you glue one piece like this, and it's up to you to make the dimensions right, but you're gonna hot glue pieces like that, hold it in place, and then glue a top across, and then you can cut them from there to any size you want. You make your own I-beams. I did some here for supports, just for aesthetics. Here's another plate. Okay. Then we're going to talk about painting. So the same paint scheme goes for everything. First, you spray. You're going to Mod Podge the whole thing in Mod Podge, and I didn't really appreciate Mod Podge until later, but it's super important. And I put black paint in mine because I want it to be dark in all the recesses and black. I've never had a problem with that. You always want dark nooks and crannies in case you miss things, but this is going to protect your foam and anything else from warping, your paper, all your chipboard. You got to coat that and then make it hard so that it can survive the paint and ultimately be rock solid. Then I spray paint the whole thing black in case I missed any nooks and crannies. And then I do a reddish brown spray paint in different areas to make it look like rust. And then I do a dark silver dry brush over everything, okay? That creates the effect of rust. Now you have kind of like a steel looking effect. Then I come back with what's called the Cheetos wash, and I learned this from Eric's Hobby Workshop. You see these like bright orange Cheetos colored, very bright wash, and it's going to look ridiculous at first, but that creates all that rust that you need everywhere, okay, once it dries. You can come back in with some silver highlights if you want to make things brighter for silver, that's fine. Now you have your base layer. Then you can start doing the masking. So you need some chemical mask, usually painters rubber mask. I don't have any particular kind that I recommend, but basically you're going to use this. It's like a rubber that when you chip it off later on, it's going to create the effects of chipped paint on your blue areas, whatever color you choose. Okay, let that dry, and then do your base coat blue, and choose different hues. You can see I have a light blue and a dark blue here. And then, once that dries, you can peel it off with your thumb. Just wipes right off and flakes and creates that open effect. Now you can see the rusted metal underneath. And then give the whole thing in a black or brown wash to make everything come together in a grime. And start doing not penciling in, but very fine paint. You could start making rust effects, drips coming off your areas that look like they should have it, okay? That's the paint and the towers. Let's see what else about the towers. We're going to glue, hot glue in some magnets underneath. Cut those in and put that inside your foam there. I like to do one on each side of the tower and each level, so I have 4 on this tower for my catwalks and that cool effect. Later on, you could do stencils at the very end. I just bought a pack of different art stencils and with numbers and letters and just slap numbers everywhere. All right, good. All right, here's a tower that has walls on the sides. As you can see, it's a little harder to get your models through there. It's going to create a whole different effect on the battlefield versus the open line of sight stuff. So just maybe limit that. Otherwise, you're going to block too much of your action. And the other thing, too, which I sometimes hang inside of these is little electrical wires, just spare wires that you have hanging around. You can hot glue that in place. And under my stairs, I always put some junk and debris. And don't forget to add some rubble, and so that you can highlight over top of that and make it look menacing. All right, the next thing I want to talk about are these foam levels. And this is just, what is this, 2-inch XPS foam cut into a block. And I use that as different levels on the battlefield. Okay, and I make ramps. So that's very easy, just same XPS foam cut on an angle. And it helps to have a hot wire Proxxon cutter, but you don't really need one. You can do this with an Olfa knife, which is just a long blade here. Okay, you can do it just cutting them, but the same painting effects take over, but also the soldering iron helps. Again, I just carve in things that I want, and here's a catwalk that has carved in a door. Okay, real quick. All right, that's it for the levels. You're going to make ramps in a similar fashion. Okay. The next thing to talk about are catwalks. I make many catwalks so that you can never have too many. I make them let's see, what is this, 4 inches wide. And then I make a lot of them that are long and narrow. Okay. So you get the 4-inch wide and the 2-inch wide. And then we're going to start putting some of these wire fences. This is just chicken wire cut. And you want to keep the chicken wire off your towers because your catwalks are going to come in at any angle depending on what you want to set up. Okay. And so keep the chicken wire off that, but you can put it in select areas with maybe some holes in the middle. So later on, if I want stairs to come hit here in the middle, and definitely at the ends, you want to leave plenty of room. And I also make my catwalks taper, so I get a nice short tip if I need to get onto something that's narrow. All right, but the way you do the catwalks is basically you take foam core or foam board, cut it to the length that you want, and make some standardization. And then you make a very long I-beam. These are 2 I-beams underneath every piece. And that's going to give it the stability that it needs. Okay, see that's, you're going to glue a magnet in the middle. Make sure you get your polarization right so you don't screw everything up across the board. And then you want to edge it. You want to put edging on so you don't see that foam board crappy edge with just, what do I use? Cereal box strips. And that's a nice thin cardstock as opposed to the thicker, what do you call it, chipboard. So chipboard's thicker, and then the cereal box is your thinner stuff. You can make nice strips out of the board, the cereal box stuff, and then that foam sheets, which I still have to find for you in just a second. All right, you could decorate your, this is literally beer packaging. Anything you want to glue on there. And that's it about the catwalks, okay? All right, here's that foam I was talking about. So we're going to have 3 different types of foam. You got the EVA colored foam, which is soft and rubbery. And that's what I peel off and put in places where I don't have access to the base XPS foam. Okay. But in either case, you could take the solder iron, okay, and helps to have some straight lines, okay, and an instant depth. And I just put 4 dots for my rivets, okay, and if you want to make damage, just do that with the solder iron. Piece of cake. If you want to make a crack, go like that. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. Alright, same thing on this foam down here. You make dots, you could draw lines, carve whatever you want into it, okay? These are probably, you can get a $20 one. All you need to get to is like 400, 500 degrees, and you're good to go. Alright, those are the 3 foams that you're going to need. And the here's the third one, which is just your normal dollar store foam. The cheap stuff's better because you can rip this off real easy and also do the same effects with the iron, okay? Alright, the next thing I want to talk about are these chicken wire fence ladders, or garden fence. You can get this in the hardware store. You cut a strip down and you make it so that it has just rungs on the ladder, and you bend the top. And then what's cool is you can lay these anywhere you want. Just pick them up and move them. And then the models can use that as access to the next levels without sacrificing a bunch of space on the actual platforms and cutouts and stuff. Okay, and stuff looks like this. When you buy it, it's sharp, you got to cut it up. All right, the next thing we could talk about is the stairs, and this is just made out of chipboard. I make 2 types, the kind that turn, and I have 2 variants of this facing different angles. You can see one goes one way, the other goes the other way. Okay, and these go up, and they sometimes, there's a gap, but it doesn't matter. Just get it so that it can go up and to the right height, and even you can have it connect to your catwalk. So you want it to be just a little bit higher than your levels or whatever. So you can get up here anywhere you want to move these. So MDF on the base, which is what I use for my tower as well, MDF on the bottom, or you could probably use chipboard, is fine. I have an I-beam here for support. This base here is just a foam block. Okay, some granny grating on the top, and I use granny grating everywhere, as you can see. Sometimes you just lay it in, cut out your foam and lay it in. It creates another effect up here. Okay, a little chicken wire fence here, and then create a template for these stairs here. Once you get a nice template on chipboard, save it, because you're going to use it over and over and over again. And what's nice about getting it the right size is that your models can just kind of hang in there. The bases kind of hold themselves. Okay. And then, you know, cut lots of strips the same width, and hot glue the hell out of everything, as always. Then I made, for my bigger catwalks, in order to get up, I have some that just float like this. These are always good. And I need to make some smaller ones like that for my platforms here, as opposed to just ramps. I need some just basic small steps. I'm working on that next. Always look for scrap metal and things you can make bits and pieces for. I'm always trying to save things. And okay, what else we got? Smoke. Let's talk about smoke. I found this, I don't know what this is. Somebody says it's fiberglass, but it's not, because it doesn't hurt my hand. I think it was a crystal cup set or something like that, but I like this wispy stuff over just, you know, crappy old cotton. Just seems to look better. Okay, I think we covered everything. Later on, once you get enough of your modular stuff, you can create custom pieces like this. But this, once you start getting into custom things, you lose some of the height consistency. So I just, this height happens to be the same level as my other things. So keep that in mind. Here you have some plastic, what is this, PVC. Use this stuff to make pipes. Like I mentioned, the straws. There's probably all kinds of other pipe stuff you can use. This is good electrical conduit kind of ridges. And yeah. All right, ladies, the next thing I want to talk about is the lights. So under every catwalk, I put a magnet, and then these LED lights, which I'll put the link in for you. There's a magnet glued on the back, and as you can see, I spray painted them black. They were clear normally, so you just cover this up with tape so you don't paint over the lights. And then the way these work is that they spin on and off. You always want to store them in the off position so that you don't have the battery engaged, and they do wear out. But otherwise, there's a remote control that these come with, and they have all the different colors, so you can just flip it. Green, red, blue, pink, whatever you want. The strobe, let me show you that. It's kind of a dull strobe. It's not very bright. It can do bright white. And let's see what the strobe looks like there. So I use that in my objectives usually. And let's see what else. The fade is a little softer. Goes between colors. It's just jumping between colors. I don't really like to use that. Same thing with the flash. It's just jumping between all the colors, which is not particularly helpful. Brightness. Yeah, so for 20 bucks, you get 10 of these guys, which is great. I bought at least 2 packs, and I want to buy more. But because I keep using these for different things, no matter, even if it's fire for like a fantasy game, it works great for creating pits. Here I just cut some foam out and threw that cotton in, and yeah, they end up going everywhere. It's helpful to have a room that you can dim the lights on and make it look that, but it's kind of hard to see your dice sometimes when it's getting too dark. All right, guys. Well, I hope that helps. Good luck, and send me some questions.